Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Haley and you're watching Between the Pages. I have a book review for you today, and that is The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. This is book 3 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, also known as my favorite romantasy series of all time, like next to ACOTAR. Like, I adore this series and I really wish I saw more people talk about it and give it love and everything. But yeah, we're just gonna fangirl now because that's usually what I do in reviews about my favorite romantasy series, so buckle in. So the first thing is the love interest was not the Shadowborn prince I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be the Shadowborn prince that she kills in The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. If you don't know, this is Misha's book, and Misha is Rayan's best friend, who is also a turned vampire. She was turned by the Shadowborn prince that she ends up killing at the end of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and I thought somehow he was going to come back to life and they were going to fall in love. So she's going to basically fall in love with her maker or her sire. I don't remember what they call it in this book. We're just going to go with sire. But yeah, it was not the Shadowborn prince I thought it was going to be. Instead, it is the Shadowborn prince who I cannot remember his name right now. I think it's Malik. That sounds right in my head. I think it's Malik. It's his half-brother Asar. So, yeah. I'm glad that I have been pronouncing Misha's name correctly, because when I first reviewed, I think when I reviewed Serpent and Wings and Night, I said Mish, and then I corrected myself to Misha, because it actually, like, Asar calls Misha, like, her full name, which is, like, Misha Ilium, I think, is her full name. She doesn't really go by her last name anymore. But he basically, like, and it has like pronunciations that he pronounces it correctly. So I was happy that I've actually been pronouncing her name correctly this whole time, and we don't have like a Carlisle thing going on, because for the longest time I thought Carlisle's name was Carlisle, because I had never, this was before the Twilight movies came out and before I listened to an audiobook and someone pronouncing his name, I thought it was Carlisle, so sorry. Part of me wishes that this book was a god falls in love with someone who is not a god, because she is promised, she's basically like, so you know how like when nuns like put on their habit and everything and they have like a wedding and they're called like a black veiled bride, because they're like marrying Jesus, basically, when they take their vows, at least in certain sects. That's just how I understand it. Misha basically promised herself to Atraxis, which is the god of the sun in this world, and she is basically like a bride of the sun. So yeah, I mean, it's mentioned that she was like groomed and everything by everybody around her, being like, well, you can't do anything with any other boys, or you can't have sexual interactions because you're promised to Atraxis. So yeah, but part of me, I always loved the god falls in love with someone who's not a god. That is like one of my favorite tropes. This is not it, sadly. But yeah, at one point Misha talks about how much she misses Rayan, and I was like, oh my god. Like, I know Rayan comes into play in book 4, which is The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, I believe. Again, I've not read it, so I don't know the title, because I only know the titles once I've read them and everything. But she talks about how much she misses Rayan, and so I'm really excited to see Rayan again, because I do miss him. I miss him also as much as Misha misses him. And then it's mentioned that, like, Misha's magic, or like Asar's magic, calls to Misha's magic because she was sired by his brother. So she has like light magic, and she also has Shadowborn magic. So she has like shadow magic because she was turned by a Shadowborn vampire. She keeps saying that she's like not a Shadowborn vampire, but she kind of accepts that later on. Kind of like how Aurea is a Nightborn. Misha is a Shadowborn purely because of who her sire is, and Asar's magic calls to Misha's magic, and I really liked that, and I thought that was a really cool thing that they have a connection because of that. And then Asar is like a legit shadow daddy, because I mentioned in, I think, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King that Rayan is a shadow daddy purely just because of like the way he acts and everything, but like Asar is like an actual shadow daddy, like wields shadows, wields the darkness, you know, broody sad boy, basically. So, but yeah. Asar is a shadow daddy, so we can categorize him as that. I love how Misha and Asar are like the embodiment of the light dark trope, because he has shadow magic, she has light magic because of Atraxis. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I mean Atraxis' name, because I have not listened to the audiobook. I don't know if they have an audiobook for it yet, but at some point I will probably listen to the audiobook and hopefully I've been pronouncing this correctly. But yeah, I like how they're the light and dark trope. I love that. Another one of my favorite tropes. And then also Asar has mind reading powers and has connections to shadows and darkness. And I was like, Reese, is that you? Like, I feel like Rayan, some of his mannerisms are definitely modeled after Reese. And then Asar is basically Reese in a different skin. But yeah, so I notice these things because I love ACOTAR so much. So I'm sorry, I just can't help but compare every dark, sad, broody, Tumblr sad boy, basically, to Reese. I'm sorry if that annoys you. And then it's mentioned that at one point, I forget which level they're at, because there's like 7 different levels of hell, I guess, or purgatory. Technically, I would call it purgatory. But it's like different steps you have to go through, like on your way to wherever the souls go at the end, basically. They mentioned that there's a dead priestess with a blindfold over her eyes. And of course, my brain was like, oh, you mean like the one from Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which I've not read yet. I am going to. I plan on reading it before I read Fallen and Kiss of Dusk, because I do have the trade copy. I also pre-ordered the Owlcrate set, or the Owlcrate copy of Fallen and Kiss of Dusk. Oh my god. Eventually I will get that title right. But yeah, I'm planning on reading that. So hopefully I'll have more context when we get to Fallen and Kiss of Dusk. And then also, while they're in the underworld, again, I forget which level. It was like level 3 or 4 or whatever. They're just like chilling, and Asar gets the air mark, which means his father is dead. And I was like, what? Because I know that his brother Malik was like supposed to be the heir, and I guess they were like convinced that his sister was gonna get it because Asar is technically a bastard. So he's like not even in the royal line, not really. I mean, he's been claimed by his father as an heir, but he's more like the spare, basically. And the weird thing about heir marks in Crowns of Nyaxia is that it doesn't always go to whoever is next in line. It's kind of like the magic chooses the heir type thing. And so Asar gets the air mark, and I was like, cool, he's gonna be the next Shadowborn king, which means when he marries Misha, that she's gonna be a queen. And I love that for her. Like, you go, girl. And when I was reading this, Life of a Showgirl had just come out. So Asar's like long lost love, the reason why he doesn't like really want to fall in love anymore, is named Ophelia. So I had Taylor Swift brain rot at the time. So yeah, but in all seriousness, I was like, okay, this bitch needs to go away, because I need Asar and Misha to get to kissing. Like, I need them to be together, and you just keep fucking it all up. Like, at one point, like, they're about to kiss, and she, like, completely destroys the house they're currently in. And I was like, you need to go away. Okay, I'm sick and tired of seeing you. Like, you're messing everything up. Go away, please. And then Mothrin, which is basically the magical prison that Asar is the warden of and Misha has been placed in. Reminded me a lot of the House of Wind, because at some point, like, Misha starts asking for things and Morthrin starts giving her what she wants. So I was like, oh, this is just like the House of Wind from ACOTAR. Again, I'm sorry, I can't stop comparing this series to ACOTAR purely because I love ACOTAR so much. Again, sorry if that annoys you. They were talking about how they wanted to kill a god. And I was like, my money is on Misha killing Atraxis for, like, all the horrible things that he's let happen to her. And the fact that he let her sister die. I mean, Misha was the one who killed her sister, like, on accident, but still, she was your biggest, acolyte. Like, how could you let this happen to her? Like, she worshipped you more than I did. Like, how could you let this happen? So I was right. Misha ends up killing Atraxis instead of the other way around. Um, Vincent's back. Like, Misha ends up being killed by one of the other gods, because of everything that she helped Aesar do, basically. And, like, Misha wakes up and Vincent's like, it's about time. We have work to do. I was like, Vincent's back! Oh my god. Because remember at the end of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, like, I mentioned that I fucking miss Vincent. Like, I cannot wait to see what him and Misha get up to. And I love Vincent. I know he's a horrible person, but, like, he was actually kind of cool. I didn't realize how much I missed him until he was not there. But yeah, I'm so excited. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Vincent's back. So excited. And then it's funny how Aesar has Alaris's magic and Misha is dead. And I was like, it's almost like they're Nyaxia and Alaris reversed. Because Nyaxia is mad because Alaris, her husband, is dead. And she, like, wants to bring Alaris back to life. And I'm pretty sure Aesar is going to do everything in his power to bring Misha back to life and everything. So I was like, okay. I don't know if this was meant by Carissa Broadbent, but if it was, I picked up on it. So I can't wait to see if that's brought up in the next book or if she ends up mentioning it somewhere. But I was like, cool. Their love story is paralleling Nyaxia and Alaris's. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, that was my rambly review for Songbird and Heart of Stone, and I will see you guys later. Bye!